So this guy visits Kansas, right, which is known to be a very flat state. I mean, Kansas is very flat. So this guy goes up to the farmer and he says, well, how flat is this state? He says this state is so flat that you can watch your dog run away from home for 3 days. And in reality, and I'm moving this back now, that dog was gone after the first 5 seconds. He was long gone. So this brings me to the portal, which we have whiffed on in regard to the D line. And we've been placing a lot of our hope on a great defense, or at least a much better defense. And I love our defensive coaches, but I love our defensive backs. I'm not sure about the linebackers. I don't like the D line, but we got to do is what we got to do. And hopefully we can do well. But the idea that we're going to drive down the field on an 8-minute drive so we can keep our defense off the field, we get down the field and we kick a field goal and we miss it. Now we burn 8 minutes and we don't have a point to go for. So what I think is, where do we really have strength? We have our strength. One, according to what everybody says, Lincoln Riley is an offensive genius. Look at our offense. And I love Miller Moss. I think he's going to be good. Look at our wide receivers. My gosh, they're great. They're absolutely great. And Zachariah Branch ought to get 15 touches a game like Bush did. But we ought to really go back to the mold here and say, you know what? We hope we're a top 50 defense, and we hope that they'll hang in there with us. But we have got to be the absolute talk of the nation offensively. And I think we can be. And that can include running. One of the things about running backs is, of all the positions, I think, in football, you can plug in a young running back and he'll be just great. You see it in the NFL. Some running back out of nowhereville goes in there and he starts for the Cleveland Browns or whatever. Why? Because running backs, you can just plug them in. We've got 3 kids on campus. We got this monster, 240-pound monster coming in. I think we ought to take a look at it. Where is our goal? Our goal is on offensive talent with the greatest offensive mind in the country, I've been told. And I think we ought to eschew the idea of saying, well, we're going to hold down the score. I think we should be an offense that everybody fears. I'd put all my effort, if I was Lincoln Riley, on making this offense the talk of the nation. And we hope our defense is decent, but I'm not going to really count on winning a defensive game. So we've lost out in the portal. We're not getting any top defensive guys coming in. We've got what we've got, and it's good in some spots and it's not good in others. So I see we ought to go where the gold is, and I think it's on offense. What do you guys think?
Matt, you want to hit that first? Great call so far, Gary. Hold on, hang on, don't go anywhere. Matt?
Well, Gary, first off, salute on playing through pain, just as my buddy Tim is here on the show. You definitely epitomize the fight on mentality. So thanks for, soldiering up here at the Voice of College Football. Well, Gary, you know that I said like a week or two ago that, ball control might be more central and necessary for USC, because of the lack of depth on this defensive line. But I can meet you in the middle, Gary. I can meet you in the middle by saying this, that, with regard to the LSU matchup, let's just look at the LSU matchup individually. LSU's secondary was terrible last year. LSU's defense was terrible last year. If you told me, Gary, you know what? Guns blazing, Miller Moss, sling it down the field, pitch and catch, throw 40 passes against LSU, probably the right game plan, actually. So, that provides some nuance to this discussion, that if USC has matchups it can hunt in the passing game, on the edges, down the field, by all means, hunt those matchups. But in a slobber knocker type game, against Penn State, for instance, against Michigan, the idea that you can just pitch and catch, throw it down the field, score 40 points and win with your offense, probably not as feasible. I would say that in those kinds of games, using the short passing game, having Miller Moss throw a bunch of checkdowns might not be sexy, but you shorten the game, and it's not so much relying on defense, Gary, so much as, if you deprive, let's say Penn State doesn't have a great offense. If you deprive Penn State of possessions that means each and every possession Penn State has in that game on October 12 will be freighted with a lot of pressure. It's a lot like college basketball, where if you go against, Princeton or one of those slow tempo Ivy League teams that are going to milk 30 seconds on the shot clock every time down, and that team's going to shorten the game and minimize your amount of opportunities, that leads you to perhaps get tight and press and not shoot the ball as comfortably or as confidently as you want. You can translate that to football with a team such as Penn State, maybe also a team such as Wisconsin. You limit their time with the ball. You can just take their offense out of the game with your own offense. It's not even so much entrusting the defense with the game. It's not allowing a mediocre offense to get good opportunities in terms of time of possession, in terms of field position. So I think that's where we can meet in the middle, Gary, that if there are matchups to hunt in the passing game, go after them. But that's not going to uniformly apply to every game USC plays this season.
Yeah, I think the issue has been not that we know this offense is going to be a good offense. It just is going to be. The rest of the country is going to see our receiving core that's grossly underrated and opportunities that they're going to have to move the ball. That's not going to be our issue. As Matt's saying, and what I've been saying is will USC be able to take the blows? The counter to that is you better get to a hell of a lead early. That's all I'm going to say, because that offense is a large offense are going to wear this defense down, and it's not going to be ugly. It's not going to be pretty, I think, in late in games. How can you go at that? You just start throwing points up there and scoring, because the one thing we do know is that a lot of the offenses, I'm not talking about Ohio State here and Oregon, but we're not even playing them. But a lot of the offenses in the Big Ten aren't exactly the type of offenses we're used to going up against. And it's going to come down to, what is USC's game plan going to be about mitigating the major issue at depth in the middle of the field? That's just going to be it. If they could find a way to do that, USC is going to win a lot of games, and maybe it will be ugly. And I think it will be a kind of get out in front and try to hold on to the end. I mean, that's how I've been looking at it a lot. We will see how that comes out. But all great points as always, Gary.
Well, thank you. I call in to get information. I don't call in to give information usually. So, but I still think that the gold on our team is on the offensive side. I just still think that we ought to make every effort to blow every team off the field. And if it puts our defense, a top 50 defense, shall we say, on the field a lot, well, they're going to be on the field a lot anyway. So I don't think, it's not like we have we can't have afford to go with attrition. We're going to have attrition, and we're just going to have to go with what we got. But I think that if offense is the name of the game for us. But I do appreciate, Matt, what you said. I did listen to that. I'll have to go back and retool some of my thinking here. But anyway, I love you guys. Gosh, it's such a great show, and it's always fun to call in. It's always fun to listen, which is what I usually do. But thank you guys. And
feel better. Feel better, Gary. I hope you get better.
I will. Take care. Bye.
Fight on, Gary. That's the big question mark. It was just really disappointing. I remember we were thinking back, what this team was going to be like with the new defense, et cetera. And the one thing we took for granted was we did have rakes. We knew they had rakes, and we knew we had some younger guys that were going to be coming in that might be able to, as the season progressed, get ready for this season. But unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen. So now it's going to see. We're excited about Lynn. We're excited about Coach Henney. Let's see what they could do. It's gonna be tough for them to pull us off.